I do really believe 100% from every part of me that everyone has the capacity to be able to do the things that they want and not to be held back by the mental baggage that's in our head that we want to push through.
Welcome to the Do the Thing podcast. In each episode, we get down and personal with people who go after the things they want to make all their wildest dreams come true. Join us as we unveil and dissect a formula for what it takes to do the thing. Here is your host, Stacey Lauren.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Do the Thing podcast. My name is Stacey Lauren, and I am so happy to have you guys here. I met my next guest last year at a conference that I went to. You know, making the decision to do things is doing the thing. One event or one party or one excursion, it can change so much. You just never know who you're going to meet, what you will learn, or how things will connect to you. Just so you guys know, there's a yearly conference put out by capitalism.com called CapCon. I went to it last year. It was right when COVID was dying down the first time. And honestly, it was spectacular. The variety of speakers that were there were mind-blowing. From one person to the next, they just poured their hearts out and gave tactical strategies for how they became successful and overcame their challenges. I loved it. The timing was so perfect for me. It was right after I exited my business that I owned for 20 years, and I was feeling so disconnected from what I'd been doing for so long. And going to this conference, it reconnected me. It reconnected me to who I am. I'm not just this business owner for this singular company that was my entire existence for 20 years. I'm an entrepreneur, and I love being an entrepreneur. It was a safe space where people could be vulnerable, share their hopes, dreams, challenges, and visions. Going to meet like-minded people who are all doing the thing, putting themselves out there, taking risks, some at the very beginning of their journey, some in the middle, and others who recently exited their businesses. You guys are about to meet Sue. Sue and I had an immediate connection. We met at the conference and have really built up a great friendship since. We have so many parallels in our lives that it feels like magic. She's been up to so many amazing things that I had to have her on the show so she could share what she's up to. Welcome to the show, Sue.
Hey, Stacey. It's so cool to be on here with you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah, I'm so excited. So why don't you get us started? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. So I'm currently the editorial director at capitalism.com, but I've been a freelance writer since 2005. So I have an agency that beautifully runs on its own, thanks to the magic of my project manager and head writer, Jessica. Everyone needs a Jessica. It kind of got me thinking after, almost 20 years of serving entrepreneurs, I'm on to a new thing. And we are building an entrepreneur retreat center in Greenville, Tennessee, up in the Smoky Mountains. And I cannot freaking wait. Like, all these entrepreneurs have been just kind of cooped up for a few years with the pandemic and isolated and just stuck indoors. And this is going to be like summer camp for entrepreneurs. It's going to be fantastic. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, it's so amazing. I know it's like the funniest thing was when we met at CapCon, I had no idea that we had the similarity, but we had talked about retreats has been something I've been wanting to do. And so it was just so amazing to be able to see that you're actually doing it.
We're doing it. Yeah.
You're doing it. And I actually was lucky enough, just so everyone knows, I was lucky enough to go out there and get to see this property. And it is beyond, it is so amazing. And just when you go there, it's literally you're just transplanted into this amazing nature. Is it I don't even want to say reserve because that's not right, but
yeah.
with the flowing water and the mountains, and it's just so amazing. So
really
how did that even work? How did you even come up with that idea? And how, I know you just you closed on the property, right? Or you're about to close.
We're closing very soon, tomorrow, actually, 24 hours from now.
Yay!
Yeah. And a year ago, this wasn't even on my mind. What's crazy is There's this guy, Trevor Blake, who wrote this book called 3 Simple Steps. And I read it because everybody at capitalism.com was reading it. So I'm like, all right. And it just kind of shook some things loose. Trevor's like huge on spend time outdoors every day. That's where your best thoughts are going to come and all. And so that was kind of cool. I started doing that. And then a coach assigned us to do this perfect average day exercise.
Oh.
And I'd never done that. This was a really, really long one with an old, internet marketing guy. I'm like, all right, I'll do this. And I did it, and I was driving in a long car ride after that, and all of a sudden it was almost like this amazing download just happened, like right into my brain, right into my lap. All of a sudden I had a business plan, basically. I was like, I had no idea. I really wanted to have a retreat center. Like all the times in the past 20 years, times when I've had the most growth personally, the best business connections, the most inspiring business ideas, it's been at a retreat. And I always kind of left like a little kid leaving summer camp going, I'll see you guys sometime. I always just kind of had this secret desire, like, well, what if I could have this all the time or create this for somebody? And so this just started just falling into place, and this idea was born. And I started talking about it, and people were like, oh, yes, please do this. So I'm like, okay, let's do it.
Well, yeah, because it's needed, right? Like with the isolation, a lot of times with entrepreneurs feel and the constant up and down of everything that you have to go through. And then to be able to, I know one of the things I love about like even running a business is being able to be outside of my business, in order to like see what I need to do. And I think life is that way too, right? Where you get to almost like shut off for a little bit with people like you, and be able to actually like connect with them.
Yeah, it just makes such a difference. Like I feel like entrepreneurs are especially lonely people where, it's like we're shut away. We're, just kind of chained to the computer, those that are still working in their business, especially, but even those who are working on it or who've exited, it's like, it's this weird life that like most people don't get. It's just kind of odd to them. And so it's, like I was talking with this one woman who had moved to a new town about 3 or 4 years ago, and she was really struggling to make friends, and especially like-minded, other business women, this type of thing. And she said it almost kind of had that feel of high school, like you can't sit at our table. There's this, like an isolation that happens, and we become deeply lonely, and we think, well, maybe I'm crazy. I built this thing so I'd have freedom and, kind of living the dream, but also really lonely and isolated and just working too hard. And I thought I was in this for freedom, but this doesn't feel very free. So all of that kind of just gets them going. And it's very hard, I think, for people to, especially these days, to build a business completely on their own. And that's, with this, I'm not doing it on my own at all. This is the first time I've ever launched a business where I was not the only person in this. And it just makes a huge difference. Like you get momentum, you've got a sounding board, you've got people cheering for you, you've got people supporting you. And it's just so different. And I hope and long for, my guests at the Entrepreneur Center to feel that, to make connections, and to never have to go alone in this again.
That's amazing. I just love that the people that you're affecting, by being able to go here, but then the ripple that they're going to be able to affect by the experience, after they leave. I mean, it's unbelievable.
It really is. I mean, if you think about it, like, a lot of people like, oh, where do you get your best ideas? They'll say in the shower, or out walking, or by water. It's such a powerful thing to get away from the desk, away from the screen, and go just be. Like you'll find this inspiration just jumping on you. Like, please make me.
Yeah, no, it does. Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm really curious. Okay, so walk us through like the moment that you get the download. So this is you were into Trevor Blake, and then was the perfect average day, was that part of Trevor Blake's, or was that something separate?
No. Yeah, that was somebody separate. So it just kind of happened to, fall into sequence. And so I'm driving, and all of a sudden these ideas start pouring into my head. I'm like, oh no. Okay, I can pull over, but I got a 6-hour drive here. Like,
oh, wow.
So I opened up a page in a notebook, and I just start scribbling, and I'm not looking at it. I'm watching the road, but I'm just, kind of going, oh my goodness. And it's this download. It's almost like somebody was just like whispering in my ear, okay, you do this, and then you do this, and then you do this. And I was like, what? It's just crazy. Now, honestly, I thought this part of my project was going to be a decade from now. Like, I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to save up and buy some property and save up more and build some stuff on it. And I had no idea that it could happen as fast as it has. I had seen the property. So I started going out with this realtor when I would go up to Tennessee to see my kids. And I was like, hey, here's what I want to do. And he's like, oh, I've got some properties to show you. So I thought, oh, what's the harm? I'll just start looking.
Yeah. So not even thinking about this, like you weren't at that point, you weren't like, oh, okay, this will be for the retreat center. You're just like dreaming kind of thing.
Yeah. Right? Well, no, I thought definitely for the retreat center, but I thought this could take forever. I don't know. I guess it couldn't hurt to start just like kind of walking around and seeing, but, but I figured it might be a while. And then we saw this one, and it was like, oh my goodness. And he fully understood, what I want to do. And he's like, this is your property. I mean, we were, like nothing even compared. This is just, it's so ideal. At one point we looked at each other. I'm like, it's like it was made for this. It's just perfect. So that was a little bit crazy, and it dramatically, brought the timeline up a little bit. Rather than a decade, like I need to do this now. So
when you said I need to do this now, like how did you actually, like a lot of people say that, right?
Oh yeah.
But then how did you actually, like you're doing it, so like how did it go from like I want to do this now to like, okay, no, I'm like literally doing this now?
Yeah. Well, that was the big thing, was just starting to talk to people about it. As an introvert and a writer, like I don't talk to people much, but I just, I'm surrounded by all these entrepreneurs, and I was like, hey guys, what do you think? Like, I kind of want to build this. Like, I really want to build this. And as they started responding, people were like, oh, well, hey, put together a pitch deck. Hey, you should talk to this person. Hey, this person's doing something similar. You should go, take a look at that online and see if that's, along the line of what you wanted or not. There's an entrepreneur, those that are in RVs, so they call them mobile entrepreneurs. There's basically a retreat center for them up in Colorado. And that's, Heath and Alyssa Ledger. No, not Ledger. Heath and Alyssa. I can't remember their last name, but so they built this, and I was like, that's okay. That's kind of proof of market. There are entrepreneurs who would love to come someplace. And, the people at Capitalism were like, oh, please, build this. So Moran, who runs it, is, he kind of has this in mind for at some point as well, but he's looking at places in Austin. And he said that, to get a similar sized property was going to be millions and millions of dollars just for the land. So when I started looking and I found out how inexpensive Tennessee is, he about threw up.
Right. Yeah. You're getting
looking
huge property. Yeah.
So it was just the more people I talked to, it just sort of took on a momentum of its own. And I was like, okay, well, let's do this. Like, I'm not going to wait. I'm 54. I don't need to wait till I'm 64 to start this thing.
Yeah. Do it now.
Definitely.
Yeah, so I'm kind of like writing out your formula for doing the thing right now, just so you know. So I have the idea was downloaded pretty much, right? Through all these things that you're doing between Trevor Blake and then the perfect average day. And then you're getting other people, once the idea was downloaded, then you're getting other people's buy-in, right?
Yeah.
Where they're like, oh yeah, that actually sounds like a really great idea. And they're getting you excited. And then through that, you're getting more educated because they're sharing other people that you're connecting with, and being able to learn new things. Are we going good so far?
That's perfect. Exactly.
Yeah. So
the next thing that I did, the next thing I did was I started writing out kind of a vision for it. It's not quite a vivid vision, the Cameron Harold formula, but this was just kind of me pouring out my heart. Here's what I want to see. Here's what I imagine being here, and the way that people will experience this place, and what they'll go home with, and how it's going to become kind of their home away from home that they come back to again and again. Like, what's that going to be like? And the more I just kind of poured this out, I'm like, whoa, it's actually taking shape. Then I started sharing that with people. And oh my goodness, the response, it was with entrepreneur people. They were like, yeah, build it. Normal people, they were kind of like, well, that's ambitious or even crazy. Yeah. But the ones that I'm aiming to serve, they were just all over it. They, hey, when can I come? So it was really validating.
Yeah. And then how did you identify, because you're doing it, you're literally closing in days. So how did you identify your there's also this risk assessment, right? How did you kind of identify that? Was that just intuition, or was it based on analysis, or, what kind of got you over that hump of okay, no, I'm really doing it.
Right. Oh yeah. So, at first it was intuition. I was just like, there seems to, I feel this, I need to do it. And then as other people were very supportive and yes, please do, okay. And then started looking at, the actual numbers. I know, a friend of mine was, kind of trying to discourage this. She was like, RV parks, nobody wants, they're leaving that. Owners are saying that's the worst decision they ever made. That type. I'm like, that's not this, So it was nobody had, proof of that it wouldn't work. So I started looking at proof that it would work. So just looking at precedent for how do entrepreneurs use the outdoors. And, if you look way back in the 1920s, 1930s, and, Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, these guys, they met outdoors. They'd go hang out in the forest and the mastermind, all that caliber, those old, huge moguls of business, the titans of industry, they'd get together outside and solve together the problems that they were facing in their business and their life. And this became such a valued thing to them that they kept doing it. So there's precedent for it. Looking at Trevor Blake and his experience, this man has created, I think he's on his 6th 9-figure business. And he credits being outdoors for finding that inspiration. So I'm like, okay, I know that it can work for entrepreneurs. How about money-wise? How could this work? And then it's almost like a cross between a campground, an Airbnb, a complex of Airbnbs. There are retreat businesses out there like Baby Bathwater Institute, Sun Valley, that's for billionaires. And there is a bit of this model where entrepreneurs get together, they leave their home, they go somewhere else, step outside of their business and do this. And they'll pay, this is not, they're not expecting this to be like a little KOA campground where they're, roughing it in a tent. They're up for having a really nice, totally pampered experience. And so seeing that money model, I'm like, that's what I want to do. That is it. So it was easy then to find out, how will this work financially? What can we do with this? If we're running retreats quarterly, what would that be like for them? What would that, potentially, how profitable could it be? And it can be very profitable. Once we've got the space to host the people, these will be, they show up and we just take care of them. Their meals are provided, drinks, live entertainment. Oh, and the important thing, no pitching. It's just they're, hanging out together. They might learn some things, but it's not like a pitch fest, where a lot of events that entrepreneurs go to are like that. Sorry.
Yeah. So So you, by having that vision, right? You're like, and the idea of being outdoors, the idea of being with other entrepreneurs, and then from there, almost like reverse engineering the numbers to make sure that it would work as like a financial model.
Right. Yes, exactly that. Because, my first, as a creator and I'm a quick start if you do the Colby assessment. So I'm like, hey, let's just go do it. But I'm like, this is big. I actually need to look at numbers. It's not not just throwing up a website and hoping for the best. This is for real. So looking at that and having people who are a little bit more financially savvy as far as like they understand how all the numbers work and all of that, having them look at it too. So again, it was kind of building in public. I know usually that's a software term, but it feels very much like this now, where I've just had conversations yesterday with somebody else who's like, "Oh, this looks amazing. I want to hear more. I want to see if there's some way I can help." And, it's amazing if you say, I am doing this thing. Anybody else want to come along for the ride? They show up. It's amazing to see that.
Yeah, and I like that you're doing it. It sounds like you're doing it in a way that's not like asking for like feedback. You're like, I'm doing it, but you're also keeping an open mind, so then you're kind of like learning things along the way, which I like.
Definitely. Yeah,
too.
Definitely.
So
and that was the other thing.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I also put up, a post on, I've been very public with this. It took a little bit of like, oh, okay. Like on Facebook, I've got friends from, nursery school that are on there, kind of being very public with, hey, I'm taking this risk, which doesn't feel risky. It feels like this is a sure thing, but kind of documenting that journey the whole way. And it's been amazing to see the groundswell of support from even people who are not entrepreneurs. And yeah, some of them say I'm crazy, but most of them have been like, wow, that sounds great. And with that too, I was able to ask, hey, let's create this together. What would make this an amazing experience for you? And I couldn't believe there were like 100 replies to that. And
wow.
I was like, yes.
I love that.
It.
Yeah. Like, so you're kind of like asking your target market, and being able to like almost put the experience in a bag, like a tied with a bow, essentially, based on what they're telling you.
Totally. Like, here's your silver platter. The thing that you asked for, we're going to do.
That's so cool. Yeah. So you're not like stuck on any one idea. You're just keeping an open mind and flowing with where the people are going, essentially.
Definitely. Because this is, I'm building it for them. So they should have some say, and if I can create, just an out of the park type of experience for them, that I'm just so compelled that this is the place that I can create for them to come and sharpen their axe, and link arms with others and leave not feeling alone, feeling inspired, feeling rested and rejuvenated, and hopefully a little bit addicted to spending some time outdoors too, because that's really important.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so what has been the hardest, or what has been hard for you during this process?
To be honest, my own emotional state on it, because, when you're doing anything new, there's road bumps or challenges or, things. Oh, that's an unexpected twist. Like at one point there was an offer on the land and I'm like, oh no, and
right.
Trying to manage my own state so I'm not in freak out mode all the time. Because that's not a great state to be in. So I'm still learning on that. I know that, every time I've started a business or done something new, there's it's almost like you bought yourself a whole personal development course. Okay, here's the next level, And so it's just, it's been amazing to see things always work out, And yes, I get tense and nervous and sweaty palms and waiting for this or that but it's all part of the ride. My son was amazing. It was so funny. I was talking with him about this and he says, Mom, it's just kind of like being on the upward slope on a roller coaster. It's potential energy. So you're going up and up. And then at some point you crest that hill and whoo, you go down and it's exhilarating. And then there's another hill to go. He said, but, just remember that, that tenseness, that that's the same as being on a roller coaster. You're scared to death. You're like, oh, I'm going to die, but you don't.
Yeah.
And it's, and it's fun, and you raise your hands and scream and want to do it again.
Wow, that is an amazing analogy. Oh my gosh, that's really good.
Yeah.
Dang, that's like, I'm literally having like a huge visual of that right now.
Yeah.
So what do you think's been the thing that's helped you, like when you are going through that and you're on that roller coaster and you're going up, like what's been holding you grounded?
Yeah. Well, the big thing is if I spend time outdoors, just like Trevor Blake said, it really feeds my soul, and I get grounded, and it's like time slows down, and it doesn't feel like everything is just incredibly, desperately urgent. It feels like, okay, and I look around and I smell the grass, and I feel the sunshine on my face, and I hear the birds and the frogs and the crickets, and I love to garden, so I'm digging in the soil, and it's like, okay, everything's going to be fine. Now that has been a little bit of a challenge because it's been winter. So,
oh yeah.
Not as good, like if I'd had this all happening during the summer, I think I'd be a lot more chill. But, I'll bundle up and I'll just go sit outside on the porch and just sit there and, try to experience right now and breathe deeply, close my eyes, just chill. That helps a lot. I won't lie and say it. Oh, I'm good as new. I'm ready to go. But my goodness, that'll talk you off the ledge really fast. If you can just kind of center yourself. And, I like to pray. I like to be, kind of run through like all the things I'm grateful for. And I love to think about like my imaginary guests. I put faces on them because I know a lot of people who will be there, but just imagining like, sitting around a campfire with them or walking up the hill or, playing in the creek that's there. And that is just, it really sustains me, that sense of, almost a calling, like this total purpose. Like I can see them, I can hear them, thanking me for creating this and that they could be there. I can almost see the, thank you notes and emails that are going to come through. And that's very, very powerful for keeping me going.
It's amazing that the thing that you're building is also the thing that centers you.
I know, right? I wonder if everybody does that. I kind of think most businesses are not like that, but this is, I'm building this for me as much as for everybody. It's just a dream come true to be able to do that and to share it.
Well, I'm excited. I love that, like, we're kind of documenting, the beginning of it, too. Yeah. So, I think it's cool that you have so much, like in your head and on paper and through the people that about what this experience is. And then, at some point it's going to be like here,
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Able to do it. So I do ask, because like what I'm trying to do for the people listening is, showing that idea of doing the thing, right? Like it's hard. Mm-hmm. It's hard to like be able to jump off that, or what is it? Go up the roller coaster. We'll do your son's analogy. Like that. Yeah. It's hard. So like a lot of people have the idea, but then to actually do it is the other thing. And so that's kind of why I'm trying to like dissect formulas from the different people I'm talking to, because everyone, some of the things are similar and some of them are different. So it's been really cool, like to get an opportunity to like see yours. And then I was wondering, too, because I know you have the writing business. Have you seen any, like, if you don't mind just touching on that for a minute, like, cause I'm curious if you've seen any like similarities, like how did you get into that business?
Yeah, actually. So that one, it's kind of funny. So, in 2005, I had two little kids, and I wanted to be able to be home with them, but there was just no way that it was going to work financially unless I was somehow working. So I thought, well, all right, what if I got a temp job? Like, register with a temp agency. And, if I can work, I can work. If the kids have something, I can not work that time. And I had done that through college to kind of put myself through, during summers, I would work at temp agencies. But all right, that'll work. So the night before my very first assignment, I get a call the evening before, and the lady on the other end of the line essentially said, hey, okay, well, here's where you're going. Here's what you'll be doing. And your bathroom breaks are at 10 and 2 and 4. And I said,
oh my God.
I'm like, what? I am a grown woman. You're going to tell me when I can go pee? No, I'm sorry. That is just not going to work. And I was like, no, that obviously I have to find something else. That's totally not going to work. So I ended up hiring a coach, basically with the question of, what am I going to do when I grow up here? And she helped me to identify what my skills were, because I really didn't know at that point. I'd, worked for years in different fields, and just kind of nothing felt like a great fit. And certainly nothing felt like something I wanted to start a business with. So we identified that writing was definitely my thing. And I remember saying, yeah, but Robin, I don't want to starve to death. Writers are like starving. Yeah. And she says, well, Sue, there's this thing called the internet. And every business is going to need to have a website, and every website needs to have words. So if you can figure out how to write for them, you can have a business. And like, whoa, okay. So I just did it. I didn't, I went on to guru.com and signed up there, and ended up being their number one ranked writer for a while, and gathered clients. And, after a while, it was more writing than I could possibly do. And I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. I'm now working 60, 70 hours a week. That's not what I had in mind.
Right.
So I brought on other writers and built an agency this way. So it's all stay-at-home moms, and, they don't have to handle the clients or the billing or any of that kind of stuff. They just want to write and get paid. So it really turned into this beautiful thing. And it was the same with us, it was like, all right, how does, it's like, I don't know enough to know what I can't do. So I'm going with ignorance on some of these things, like, oh, that's impossible. Oh, I just did it. Okay.
Well, yeah, and it sounds like, if you think about it, like hiring a coach, right? It's kind of similar to what you're doing with the retreat center, where you're getting other people's buy-in, like you got the coach to really kind of support you and help guide you, and mentor you too. Yeah. And then you just keep a really open mind, it sounds like, and then things are just sort of like, opening up for you.
Yeah. And you do whatever is the next thing that makes sense to be doing, and for me with the writing and with this, a common thread too was just really like for the writing business, I had such a heart for the mom and pop businesses, these small and medium-sized businesses that needed writing. They would be, a lot of people will understand that it's really hard to write for your own business because it feels weird. I have a hard time writing for my own business sometimes. But if I can see somebody's greatness, what they're doing, if it's a plumber, like, man, you're not just like wrenching on a toilet. You're not just fixing a leak. You're really providing peace of mind. These people have a massive problem. They're calling, there's water spurting through their house, or whatever the problem is, and you're in there to save the day. Like, if I can see somebody as the hero of the story, then I can go all in just supporting them. And same with the retreat center. Like, I know these folks are creating solutions to problems throughout the world. Yeah, they're getting paid really well for it, but that's because the problems they're solving are really plaguing people. And if I can get in there and support them, it's like nothing's going to stop me. I'm doing this. And at one point I was like, I'll do this if I'm 90, and it's not, if I'm 90 before I get the property and do this, I'm doing it. It's just, it's a call in my life.
What's so cool that you said too, on top of everything else that you said was really cool, but the thing that I really loved was, you said something like, do whatever the next step makes sense to do. It sounded better when you said it, but like, it kind of makes me think, my daughter uses the term future tripping, and it sounds like you're not future tripping. You're really just like going in this, like, okay, what's next? So you're not getting caught up in all these other things, which, that simplicity, I think, is also really, really good, because that could like bottleneck anything,
Oh yeah. And future trip, your daughter's so smart. That's the perfect perfect term for what normally happens. We just get wrapped around the axle trying to think, well, 15 moves from here, how am I going to handle that? Again, Blake, the way he described it was so great. He said, look, it's like a winding staircase. You can't see much further than like 3 or 4 steps ahead. And there, that there are a bunch more, but you got to step up to find these next steps, and then you'll see how to take them. You can't possibly imagine, what you're going to need to do or how you're going to do it until you get closer to doing that particular step.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. Oh my gosh, dude, that's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So we can actually say when the Entrepreneur Retreat Center is going, you can say, this is here because I didn't want to take scheduled bathroom breaks.
Yes, that's true. Because I'm stubborn.
I just almost wonder. It's just interesting when things like that happen to us, right? Because that moment in that temp agency and what happened, and you having such a strong reaction, it created this ripple, and who knows what would happen.
It really,
but it's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it tipped the first domino.
Oh yeah.
It really did. Yeah, and I never could have seen, time travel back to 2005, and I'm desperately looking for something so I can bring in some extra money. Never would have seen this coming.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, so what is the one piece of advice you have for people about them being able to do the thing?
Oh, yeah. All right. Here it is. Go outside every day. Unplug. You don't get to bring your phone. You're not listening to music. You're not checking the time, any of that. It could just be a few minutes. Better, longer, a little bit longer is way better. But do that and just be still. Because if you start to just, and you don't have to do it, it's not like meditation where you're purposely trying to not think or, just let your brain go. It's fine. It's fine. Anything that you're thinking about is fine. And if you do this regularly, I'm thinking a few weeks of this, and you're going to start having some really inspiring thoughts. And take them seriously. Jot them down. See, play with it a little bit. See what happens. There's nothing that's impossible for you to do. Some things will take doing. A lot of things take a lot of help, but it can definitely be done. And don't let your brain tell you, oh, that's stupid. That's too hard. You can't possibly do that. Okay, fine. I'm just writing it down. How risky is that? I'm just writing it down. Of course, it might actually turn into something, and, but you don't have to censor yourself or look at, well, what's reasonable, what's normal, any of that kind of stuff. Just let your brain go, because there's some dream inside of you, some new task. It could be taking a vacation. It could be a whole new business, whatever it is, but it's dying to come out of you. And in the quiet of being outside, alone, just sitting there, there's not a whole lot of extra shouting going on in your brain. After a while, it'll just be clear, and you'll get this idea and just write it down. It doesn't mean you have to act on it. But if you start getting into that practice of letting your brain tell you what would be amazing and unpeeling that so that you can kind of see what's on my heart to do? What's my, I don't want to say purpose, but it could be, but there's this sense of I was made to do this. And if you can get outside and spend that time and lavish that time on yourself, you'll be amazed at what things come out of you that you could go and do. And from there, it's kind of self-fueled like a rocket. So just be prepared. You may find yourself doing something you never dreamed.
Wow. That's really good. That was a really good piece of advice too. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I love how you're giving people permission to not judge their thoughts. It's like, you're just writing it down. That's all you're doing,
Exactly.
Which is,
you're not doing anything crazy. Yeah. Right. You're writing some words. What could happen?
Yeah. I love it. Well, is there anything that I did not ask you that you wish I asked you?
Oh, wow. Let's see. My goodness. I think, just, as far as dealing with the naysayers, because sometimes they're in our own brain. Sometimes, their friends or family or, like that. And that, that does come up. And especially if you've had failures in the past, or they have. So handling that, that can be a little tough sometimes, but I try to keep in context, like this is coming from their best wishes. They're hoping to save me trouble or, protect me, or they've had a hard time with something before, they've had a failure, whatever it is like that. It's just kind of like a protective mechanism. And so in that I can be like, their intentions are good. They want to protect. They don't want something bad to happen. And so I can then just kind of think literally and for real, be thankful for them that they're showing some care. Their input is not what I needed at the time. And so I just kind of file it away, and I thank them for their care and their concern. And I'm going to go do it anyway.
Oh my gosh. And it's so cool that you said that, because it's so easy when someone does that to just be like, oh, they don't get me or whatever. Now I'm telling you my own brain, but
yeah. Oh yeah.
Instead you're telling them, and whether you say it verbally or you say it just in your head, it's like, you're just thanking them for caring about you. And I think that's such a great reframe, than the opposite situation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because it would be really easy to get bitter and discouraged and, oh, gosh, well, I guess this guy's right. I can never do it. Yeah. Oh, wait a second. Like, why am I going to let him say?
Yeah, I'm just going to do it anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. Okay, so where can people find out about you or find you? Where are you?
So got a brand new website that's under development. So it's a little ugly looking right now, but we'll get a good one going at some point. But it's entrepreneurretreatcenter.com. And we're doing a little newsletter and starting a blog on there. And normally that would have been all the first stuff I would have done instead of taking actual action on this.
Yeah. That's
kind of an afterthought. Yeah. So
what a great domain name. That's amazing that no one's thought of that yet. That's great.
I couldn't believe it was available.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. This has been really wonderful. And you're a gem. So
thank you, Stacey. That time, just meeting you at CapCon, I mean, there were hundreds of people there. And the fact that we connected, that's saying something special. I absolutely adore you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Do the Thing podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show, but even more, we hope you'll be inspired to do the thing. Do you have a burning question on doing the thing that you'd like answered? How about an inspiring do the thing story of your own that you'd like to share? We'd love to hear all about it. Just leave us a voice message at dothething.callcast.co or email us at hello@dothethingpodcast.com.